welcome, seriously welcome to a John Legg fragrance review. You know what? There's plenty of other channels out there, way more sophisticated than this one. But this one is kind of real. We look at the juice inside. We look at the reality of the fragrance. And let's get stuck into a John Legg fragrance review, because I have so much passion for fragrance, and this is a fragrance which I have a massive amount of passion for. So let's go. Armani Code. Yes, you know Leggy is a massive, probably #1 fan of Armani Code. Well, one of the codes in the lineup, it's not a limited edition, it just runs alongside, and it was launched in around about 2017. It's called Armani Code Colonia. And you know what, I was excited for this one because I've got pretty much all of the other codes in my arsenal of codes, and this one I hadn't got. But when I read that it was an EDT, I thought, Leggy, just exercise caution here, because I like a code that performs. And as you well know, the original code back in 2004, that blew your head off. That was awesome. Over the years, they reformulated, and the EDT, the original, is now pretty much sort of water. Okay, now this one, Armani Code Colonia, I got a sample. I thought, just be careful, and here it is. Okay, I don't know why I'm showing you this, it's not really the bottle, but here we go. So I've got Armani Code Colonia EDT. Let's go for it. Okay. When you first smell it, you go, it's a code, because the DNA is firing off. You know, that original sort of beautiful sort of delicate citrus. It's got a little bit of leather in there, it's got lavender in there, it's got tonka in there, it's got amber in there, and you know what, you go, that is an Armani Code. But what is clever about this one, and what is amazing about this one, is they've infused a little bit of bergamot for the freshness, and they've also infused a little bit more citrus notes. Okay, so in my book, this converts into something which could almost be called Armani Code Summer, because it's bright, it's youthful, and it's a very summertime fragrance. And you know what? Instantly you go, oh man, that is like a solid 10 out of 10 fragrance. That's an amazing version of Code. It's not a million miles away from the original, but it's got enough of a sort of a citrusy twist to it to make it different enough for, if you wanted to buy a bottle of it, to go for it. And I was so excited, and I put it on, I fell in love. I was like, oh man, I've got to order a bottle. But you know what? In terms of performance, this is where this one falls over. On my skin, which is a fairly average, sort of not particularly oily and not particularly dry kind of skin, I'm getting a really disappointing sort of maybe 15 to 20 minutes of being able to smell it as a projection, and maybe up to an hour to an hour and a half of being able to get little whiffs of it. And you know what, I'm like, you know, if you've been to this channel before, you know I will big up a fragrance if it has amazing performance, okay? And I will also be harsh on a fragrance if it's got poor performance. And this one is so disappointing, because you fall in love with the smell, and then an hour later it kind of leaves you, and you're left, pardon the pun, high and dry, because you're going, oh man, I wanted it to last. So I'm really, really glad I didn't just buy a bottle, because I think for 110 ml this is around about the £60 to £70 mark. So it's about the average price of any of the codes. And I'm so glad I didn't go out and buy a bottle, because the disappointment sets in after about an hour to hour and a half. It just, I mean, maybe it's my skin, maybe it's the time of year. I mean, in the UK now it's autumn, and I'm sort of trying it in the autumn. I've asked a few people around me, can you smell it? Because I thought maybe I've gone nose blind, and they all just go, no. Right up close, yes, you can still smell it, but it just doesn't seem to go anywhere. So 10 out of 10 for the smell, and maybe, I don't know, if I'm scraping it here, maybe 2 out of 10 for the performance. gutted, absolutely gutted, because I love the smell that much. Now, you know, it is an EDT, and I prefer the EDP versions, but you know, EDT doesn't always mean bad performance, because I've got this one, which is a limited edition. This one, which you've seen me review before, it's ARMANI Code A-List EDT, and this one, I kid you not, this performs. If I didn't know it was an EDT, I'd say it was an EDP, because it absolutely fires off my skin for a good 3, 4, 5 hours. I can smell it. This one is incredible for an EDT. So not every EDT falls off a cliff after an hour or so. That one proves that it's not always the case. But for me, ARMANI Code Colonia was not worthy of me buying a bottle. And I cannot honestly say to you, go out and buy it, because you'll go through the same disappointment. You'll smell it, you'll go, oh, I want that smell to last forever. And it's gone in about an hour and a half. So I'm sorry to give you that bad news. Well, good news and bad news, mostly bad news, because I wouldn't recommend you go out and spend your money on it unless you found it ridiculously cheap somewhere, you know, half price with an extra discount, free postage and a few samples. Go for it then. But at full price, it's not good value for money, because the performance seriously lets it down. Okay, I really appreciate you coming to this channel. If you would consider a thumbs up, and if you would consider a subscription, I would seriously be honoured, and it would be my privilege. So I thank you very much. So I'd like you to stay safe, stay happy, spray fragrance every day, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.